Welcome back everyone. In this tutorial we are going to learn how to create DSG database and its tables in Microsoft SQL Server. So again, let's have a look at our ERD, the physical model. So as we said, we need first to create DSG database, and after that the tables that don't need foreign keys. So the tables, they don't have foreign keys, like department, location, institute, and project. After creating these tables, we can start creating the other tables that have foreign keys, like employee A, employee B, project team, and degree. So let's switch to Management Studio to create the database and its tables. After we launched Management Studio and connected, let's now open a new SQL query. We can do that from here. Click New Query. And first, let's be sure that we deleted DSG database that we created before for the training purpose. So first, let's delete this database. And as I mentioned before, Microsoft SQL Server has more restrictions in terms of deleting or altering databases and tables. So if you are connected to a certain database, you should stop the connection. You should disconnect. Otherwise, you will receive an error. So now I'm connecting to DSG. First, let's type use master and click on master and execute. After that, try to drop DSG before we creating this database again. Let's do it by typing drop database and DSG. Drag and drop it here. And let's now execute and see. There we go. If you faced any problems doing that, the best and the fastest solution, you may close Management Studio completely and open it again, and be sure you are not connecting to DSG. So if you click on databases and refresh, we no longer see DSG database. So now we can create our database. So let's have a look at the code here. First, use master, create database DSG, go to create it. Then after that, we need to use DSG. So let's select these lines from use master to here and execute. Commands completed successfully. Click databases and refresh. And this is our database. Let's now create the tables, starting with the independent tables. First thing, department. We almost have the same code that we used in MySQL. However, we got some few differences. Columns, department ID, and it is integer, not null. And instead of using auto increment in Microsoft SQL Server, in T-SQL, we are using identity to make it auto increment. We have an advantage here in Microsoft SQL Server. We can determine the beginning of the value that you want to start with, like in this case 100, comma, and the increment value here in this case 1. We also need to make this primary key, and also we can type primary key here in the same line, comma, department name, variable character 255, and it's not null. So this is the first table, the first independent table. The second one is location, and the same thing, city code, it is a variable character with 10 characters, not null, and its primary key. And city, variable character, this is the second column, variable character with 255 characters. And the last column here is country, and its variable character 255. And after that, we need to create institute table. So create table institute. We have two columns, institute ID and institute name. The first one is integer, and we want to enforce this policy, not null. And this is identity, starting from 1 and increase by 1. And if we didn't type 1, 1, it is by default, it's gonna to start with 1 and increase by 1. This is the default values. It is not necessary to type 1, 1. And primary key, because we want to make institute ID a primary key. And the second column here, institute, name, its variable character 255 and it's not null. Close the parentheses. And the last table here is project. The last independent table we want to create before we are going to create the other tables. So create table, project, open parentheses, and these are the columns. Project number is integer, not null, identity 2000, 1. So we want to start the project number from 2000. This is the minimum value, comma 1 to increase by 1. And its primary key, we want to make it primary key. Project name, variable character 255, and it is not null. We want to enforce this policy. And the start date is date and not null. Comma after that end date and its date. We are not sure when will be the end date, so we didn't enforce not null. And the last column, it's budget, and it is a float because it's money. We expect to have some decimals, and it's not null. So these are the 4 independent tables that don't need foreign keys. Let's select the SQL code from here up to here to create the 4 tables. Click execute, and there we go. Commands completed successfully. Click on tables, refresh, click on this plus sign. These tables have been created successfully. In the next tutorial, we are going to complete creating the other tables.